What's going on, you guys? My name is Russell, and you're watching The Bible Man. If you're new to this channel and like the content I make here, please hit that like button, hit the subscribe button, and turn on all notifications for any future updates here on my channel. It is January 8th, 2024, and yesterday, God blessed me in a way where I was extremely happy. He blessed me with a brand new camera. You see, in the past couple of months, I made some pretty foolish decisions. I sold my camera, sold my iPhone, sold my tent, sold my sleeping bag for the sole purpose of buying things that I did not need. And one of the biggest reasons of why I did it is because I've been unemployed. But this year is a new year, and I wanted to try, while I'm still unemployed, I want to try and find a new job. A job where I can start working again. So I'm asking you guys to pray for me about that. So I'm here in today's video talking about a subject that not a lot of people understand. So the atheist's most favorite Bible verse is something I don't think they quite understand. Atheists will most often than not quote this specific Bible text, and whenever they quote it, I just don't think they understand what they are talking about. So what is this specific Bible text? Deuteronomy 21, 18 to 21. But before I get into it, I want to paint you guys a picture. So there is this boy named Tommy. Tommy was told to clean his room. Tommy was so let me start over. There's this boy named Tommy. Tommy was told to clean his room by his mom. Instead, he decided to go play video games. So Tommy, later that day, got in trouble by his mom because his room wasn't clean. And then he turns around and says, "Mom, I did clean my room." Inherently, he lied to his mom. So, out of anger and frustration because Tommy is in trouble, Tommy slaps his mom and gets into a fight with his mom. So the police come and Tommy lies to the police officer. Tommy gets arrested, and then Tommy lies to the judge. Tommy then in return get a harsher sentence because he lied to the judge. So what's going on here? When Tommy lied to his mom, he got in trouble. Most likely, he got grounded and his game system got taken away. When he lied to the police officer, he got arrested. When he lied to the judge, he got a harsher sentence. So what happens when we lie to God or break one of God's laws? The crime is much severe than what most people can understand. So why do atheists commonly use this text? Because they misunderstand who God is and misunderstand why we follow the commandments in the first place. So let's go to Deuteronomy chapter 21, verses 18 to 21. If a man has a stubborn son, if a man has a stubborn, I'm gonna try it one more time. If a man has a stubborn and rebellious son who will not obey the voice of his father or the voice of his mother, and when they have chastised him, will not heed them. And we'll read verse 18 one more time. If a man has a stubborn and rebellious son who will not obey the voice of his father or the voice of his mother, who they have chastised him and will not heed them, then his father and mother shall take a hold of him and bring him out to the elders of the city to the gates of his city, and they shall say to the elders of his city, that this son of ours is stubborn and rebellious. He will not obey our voice. He is a glutton and a drunken. Then all the men of the city shall be stoned to death, and with stones, so you shall put away the evil from among you, and all of Israel shall hear in fear. So, what's going on here? The mother and father tried correcting or disciplining the child did not listen. Now, it doesn't say the child is being a good person or being disobedient. It's saying the child is being stubborn and rebellious. The word rebellious is commonly referred to as somebody who is living a life of, how do you say it? What's a good way to describe it for the word rebellious? When we're talking about, when I'm mentioning rebellious from the Bible, we're thinking of the old school term of rebellious. Rebellious in this context would be somebody who is against the laws, against the systematic system, against what it means to show compassion, show mercy. Disobedient is a character trait I would look at. But most importantly, he's probably disrespectful and resentful most of all. And he's living a life that is very shameful and dishonoring to the parents and the city and God. So, the question is, before I get to that, I'm going to read the passage one more time so you guys can understand the text. If a man has a stubborn and rebellious son who will not obey the voice of his father or the voice of his mother, and when they have chastised him, will not heed them, then the father and his mother shall take a hold of him and bring him out to the elders of his city, to the gates of his city, and they shall say to the elders in his city, this son of ours is stubborn and rebellious. He will not obey our voice. He is a glutton and a drunken. And then all the men of the city shall stone him to death with stones. So they shall put away the evil from among you, and all of Israel shall hear and fear. So the question is God wrong for stoning this son of these parents? The text does not say the son is a child. Most likely he's a teenager or adolescent or a young adult who's living with his parents. It does not say child. It says if a son is rebellious and stubborn and living a life of drunkenness and gluttony, means he's a fat slob who drinks and doing many other things, probably given into sexual immorality, if I had to guess. The question is it wrong for God to have a commandment to stone this man to death? I will say no. The reason I will say no is quite simple. God created both me, you, and everyone here on this planet in His image. But He also created us with the sole purpose of us getting to know Him and live by His wisdom, His knowledge, His divine will for our life, and for us to go off that path and live a life of wickedness and evil. Live a life of gluttony and drunkenness. Live a life of rebelliousness and disobedience, and be stubborn to the people around you, this is evil and is an abomination to the Lord. Now I'm going to go back to the parallel I made before I read this text. If you lie to your parents, you'll get grounded. If you lie to the police, you'll get arrested. If you lie to a judge, you get a harsher sentence, probably longer jail sentence time. If you lie to God, well, best believe it's going to be a pretty bad punishment. For instance, in the Old Testament days, if you lie to or use the here's a better one. If you use the Lord's name in vain, if you say God in the Old Testament days, you best believe you're going to get struck by lightning, and that's it for your life. So the purpose of this law is to show that God doesn't play that. God does not play that. God has a divine purpose for our life, and for us to go off track that is living a life of rebelliousness, lawlessness, wickedness, stubbornness, and possibly, if you really don't care about the people around you and you don't care about yourself, gluttonous, lust, sexual immorality. Just look what happened to what God did to the city of Sodom and Gomorrah. I do not believe this text is wrong. There's a difference from how Christians think, because we have an understanding of what morality is and how morality came into play versus people who don't understand the Bible. See, morality is not subjective. It's objective. Morality has an objective point to why it exists, because somebody had to create morality. In order for somebody to create morality, it could not be a human being. It could not be come from a single religion. It had to come from a divine creator. A divine creator created morality, and he placed the morality on each and every one of our hearts. And because we know the difference between right and wrong, we are without excuse. We are without fault when we stand before the Lord our God on the day of judgment. When we are judged, we either go to heaven because we lived life that honored and glorified God, or we go to hell for living a life of wickedness and the deliberate disobedience of disobeying God's laws. Anyone who practices sin is practicing lawlessness, and sin is basically the same as breaking God's laws. So therefore, sin is lawlessness. And the reason why this is valid, Deuteronomy 21 verses 18 to 21, is because that's how things work. You don't have to agree with it. You don't. Back in the day, I'm not telling you this is true. I'm telling you that God is saying it's true. The Bible says it's true, so therefore that's it. That's all there is to it. Besides, it's not the only place in the Bible that we have this example. Go to the book of Exodus. When Pharaoh refused to set God's people free, God sent an angel of death, and he killed all the firstborn of the Pharaoh's people in the land of Egypt, to those who did not have the mark of the blood of the Lamb on their household. God's wrath is not something to play around with. It's not. And that is why this is valid. It's because whenever we commit a crime, depending on the person we commit the crime to, the punishment changes. And since God is the ultimate authority for what's right and what's wrong, he gets the final say. No one else. That's about it for this video, guys. Thank you guys so much for watching. My name is Russell, and you're watching The Bible Man. Have a blessed night. I'll try to make some more videos later, but it is what it is. Have a good night, guys.